Take the microphone away and see what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that before too. I'm not bright enough, I don't think. And I don't mean my intelligence.
You're bright. Don't talk about yourself that way.
Don't talk about my friend like that.
Ready when you are.
Okay.
Also, Amy, AP, you don't need to read what's in the parentheses that says any other way. You don't need to read that.
That was kind of funny when she did, though.
It was.
Why not?
I mean, if you want to. I said you don't need to. I didn't say you can't.
Don't
she
tell
didn't
me
say
what to
don't.
do.
Yeah.
You don't know my life.
Hey, Ghosty Fam. AP here. Or, I mean, any other way that I want to address myself. But glad to see you all here today.
That was a slap at me, I feel like.
Sometimes we like to have a little fun with each other. Welcome
Most
to The
of the time,
Activity
we're just
Continues, a podcast where three friends yell at each other all the time. But we're also soul sisters. Recap episodes of the TV show The Dead Files and talk about other creepy shit as well. Sometimes we also talk about sharks. A lot of times we talk about sharks. Sometimes we talk about crafting. Sometimes we talk about Christmas. Sometimes it's Halloween. Sometimes it's travel tips. You never know what you're going to get. It's a mixed bag. So come on over.
Thanks for joining us again. This is Amy. This week, we will be discussing Burning Hatred. That's the Dead Files Season 15, Episode 11, which originally aired on October 5th, 2023.
Woo.
And the synopsis is thus. Paula's childhood home always gave her an unsettling feeling, but it never reached the point where she got too concerned for anyone's safety. However, things have taken a dangerous turn since she moved away. Terrified for her parents' lives, Paula begs Cindy and Steve for help.
If you have not watched the show yet and don't like spoilers, stop. Do not proceed. Go back and pick an older episode of ours today, as there are spoilers in this episode.
Thank you.
About the episode in this episode about the episode that aired.
Megan gets paid by the number of times she says episode.
It's true. So go back and pick an older episode of ours today to listen to, and then come back to this one once you've seen the current Dead Files episode.
Right. And it's actually, by the time this comes out, not going to be all that current.
No.
But that's okay. Just a couple of little housekeeping-ish things. We hope you listen to the Boo Pod Halloween specials, including ours, which was last week.
I listened to Brooks today, and of course, Dom's is always good. And then when we got to Kate's, I was in my cube at work just laughing hysterically. She is always. They're both so funny.
Yep.
They are. Yeah, they're the
listening
best.
to that on the plane to Bismarck, North Dakota later this week.
Fun.
This is going to be the first snowstorm of the season.
Oh my God.
On Thursday there, I don't even know if our meeting that we're supposed to have is going to happen because we travel out to Webo, Montana.
Oh.
A couple hours west of Bismarck. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't realize they were that close. I'm terrible at geography.
Same.
North Dakota and Montana share a border.
I figured that by now. I didn't know that 20 minutes ago. I used to have the whole map. I had a job where I had nothing to do all day most of the time. So I just pulled up this game, and you would click on the states and guess which one was which. And I did that every morning until I had them all memorized. And I was really good at it for a few years, and it's all leaked out of my brain now.
That's an
all
interesting way to pass the time.
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago. I have other interests now. Anyway, so yeah, Boo Pod specials, all good. Ton of them. They should be all done by the time this airs. We wanted to mention, we did on our last episode, but that the Patreon app has refurbished or whatever, revamped, yeah. And they now have a chat feature, which we are using in our Patreon with our patrons. And so if you want to come on over, join over there, you can join for free. The chats are open to free members as well.
And you can get all this hilarious content direct to your fingertips?
Fingertips?
Eyeballs?
Earballs.
Earballs.
Your earballs.
But if it's a chat, isn't it an eyeball?
Yeah, you're right.
That's true.
If it's a chat, it is, yeah.
What's the reason over here?
What
What
happened?
I don't know. Figure it out.
I want to say it's your voice sounded different, but not
It did. Yeah.
quite as much as last time.
Is it back to normal?
No, it's tinny again.
Is it?
Okay,
sounds a
try
little-
again.
Oh, yeah. it
Hello,
does
hello,
sound
hello.
Tinny. Yeah.
It does sound more tinny than it was a minute ago
Yeah.
before something.
The only explanation is paranormal.
That's
No
right.
shit.
I mean, at this point, while you're looking at that, I will tell
Yeah.
everyone, this is our second time recording this episode.
Yeah.
Ladies came over to my house last night and we had a great time and we exchanged birthday
fantastic.
presents
It was
and
so
we
fun.
ate apple crisp and we had a great time. And then
Delicious
I sat down to edit.
jalapeno cheddar
Yep.
dip that ate. Oh my God. I could have
Yeah.
really taken that home. It was so
I was really good. I know.
Yeah.
And so then I went to edit today and I'm like, what the fuck? Like there were demons in there. There were noises that were not in the room. There was an echo that even when I listened to just my track, I was hearing myself echoing.
which is so weird.
It was the most bizarre thing. I've never had anything like that happen before. So we are doing take 2 now on this.
Round two.
So round 2. We'll try not to redo the same jokes, but
I mean, we can't duplicate the comedic gold that was yesterday. We just got to come up
No.
with new comedic gold.
I know. That's right. We can do it. I believe in us.
Has it gotten any better?
It sounds, it's not as bad as when you tested it before and then you sounded like you were in another room. But
Yeah, where I
it's a
actually
little,
moved the microphone?
yeah, but it's a little tinnier. Move
Okay,
the
I
microphone
might-
now and see.
Is it coming through my microphone at
same.
all?
It's the same.
Fuck, I didn't
It's
do
not-
anything.
Right.
I'm telling you, it's paranormal.
I'm going
Only
to, I got to stop
explanation.
for a second. I'm going to
Okay.
unplug everything and replug it back
Okay.
in. So I'm
Okay.
going to be out for a minute.
Okay.
All right.
Megan and I will discuss.
Continue
Okay.
or discuss.
Well, we can go on and talk about some of the other things that
Yeah.
Amy already knows. that we
I
talked
just
about
wanna
yesterday.
Say a happy anniversary to us. It is our 1-year Patreon anniversary.
right. It is. We've been
So-
on Patreon for a year.
And I didn't get anybody a gift. I totally forgot.
Yeah,
So-
I didn't make it known or anything. And I wouldn't have known except that I got an email from Patreon saying happy anniversary. And I'm like, did I get anything?
I
I know.
feel like you guys were on it longer than that. Maybe not.
I don't think so.
I thought I joined like right away with you guys.
You did
Right away when we
when we first started it. Yeah, but we didn't start Patreon right when we started the show.
Okay.
Okay, the only other thing I want to mention is that we want to say, what happened?
Not touching anything.
Oh, you were talking and I couldn't hear you. And I'm like, oh my God, no.
Just throwing you off.
You're
Yeah, if
mean.
you really want to freak me out, just lip sync.
Yes.
Okay, so one last thing. I want to mention a sweet email we got from Eddie, and we want to send Eddie some good vibes because he's having some medical issues right now. They're
Mhm.
trying to solve, and so send good vibes to Eddie. He's a sweetheart. And if anybody else wants to send us a message and tell us about your life, and
Yeah.
we'll give you a shout out.
Welcome
yeah.
to our new patron, Roxanne.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just wanted to say thank you. And also, we did want to send happy thoughts to Roxanne. She just had to put her dog Izzy down.
Is
And so she's very sad about her, as anybody would be. So
of course,
We know
Sending-
that one too well.
of course, we all do.
we all do. It's
Mhm.
no matter how many times you do it, it never gets easier losing a
No.
pet. So
No,
so sending healing vibes to her and happy thoughts.
yes,
All
yes.
right.
All right, are we ready to get going? So, yeah, this episode was kind of I said before that it was sort of like, we were all like, well, I saw it, but I don't remember. Like,
Yeah.
it was kind of lackluster, but we did note some things that were that we're seeing recurring in this season that we picked out. And I don't remember what they all were, but
portals.
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist activity.
Staging, that a family or a marriage is on the rocks.
Yeah. Steve likes to say, so what you're saying is
you're on the verge of divorce.
You're on the verge of divorce if we can't fix this.
So this one was interesting because when they first met with Paula, who we find out is potentially Paula Jr., they weren't even at the location. They were at Paula's house. And so Steve was like, this is a beautiful house you got here, but this isn't where it's going down.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve.
Well, and it was one of those things that also made you be like, why are we meeting at her house? Are her parents not like wanting to be a part of this? But then they have to have said yes if they're going to do a walkthrough of their house.
Yeah, they can't exactly be like, no, we don't want to be a part of it. And then they have a whole episode. So that one was that was weird, I thought. And some stuff that's been going on. They've seen shadow people, shadow figures, apparitions. I think Amy
physical contact.
Yep.
Fighting, things being thrown. And that's the fighting is what we were talking about is, this is a couple that's been, so the parents are Stanley and Paula, and they've been married for 35 years. And why is it that we always act like they never fight? And
and that's normal. And it's no,
we all have it. And like I call it, and I mentioned this when our recording sunk yesterday, sibling spats. You have it with my sister and I have them all the time where we disagree on something, we get pissed off at each other, and 5 minutes later it's like, so do you want to go to the brewery?
Yeah. I mean, even we've had a couple of spats in the chats, and it's like that's what a normal relationship should be. Like you go 35 years without fighting. That's not normal.
That's weird.
That
means you're probably not talking.
You have never not irritated the person you have lived with for 35 years.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're romantic or not. Like you living with somebody is really fucking hard, and you're gonna
because they talk back.
Yeah, they talk back.
Dogs are so much easier.
They eat your food that you buy. With your money, fine.
It's fine.
Did something happen recently, Megan, that you want to talk about? Or?
I'm fine. I'm not. It's fine. I'm not flashing back to college at all.
Yep, I've been there. And
nobody does the dishes except you. When you live with 4 other people,
yep,
you just let them pile up. It's fine.
Yep,
I'm fine.
I had that same thing happen, but I was too shy to say anything about it. And my roommate had left her dishes in the sink for 3 weeks. I would move them, cook, do my dishes, put them away, put her dishes back in the sink. And then my mom told me that I should just put them in her bed.
Yes.
I didn't do that.
Does that with her husband, but she'll put stuff in the passenger seat of his car.
Right.
He leaves a lot of water bottles around, and so she'll collect them all and put them in the passenger seat of his truck.
Lovely.
I love it.
Lovely. So I think we can all agree that this is another one of those, like, feels like it's made up to be part of a script because it's constant. It follows a very similar plot line. And,
So what you're
gotta make a
saying is
show, right?
Divorce?
Yeah. Gotta add some drama.
Right.
But we do still start off in the house with just Paula Jr. kind of walking us through, and Steve makes comments about how she changes, her body language changes as soon as she gets up to the door. And that
he's like, I can immediately tell that you're not comfortable.
Yep.
And it's like it's the same how he's leading her, and it's we've mentioned this pretty much ever since the show started, like our show started, that he asks those leading questions to people.
Yes.
And it's like, instead of saying, oh my gosh, tell me how you're feeling, he's like, you're uncomfortable, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
What is she gonna say? No at that point?
Yeah.
And, well, Do you remember when we talked to Donna Lynn, the client from a few episodes ago, and her daughter Reagan was on, and her husband was on too. But Reagan was talking about she got in a fight with Steve because he kept trying to say, so what you're saying is you're afraid of this and blah. She's like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. And he was trying to get her to say stuff because it was what he wanted for the show or what the producers wanted for the show. Right. And she's like, but that's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's just interesting as that all goes through. And I know we kind of continue on with Paula then too in the episode. And part of where burning hatred seems to come from is Paula talks about how she was at the house and the water heater started on fire. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday too in our last recording.
The lost files.
I'm starting to think that maybe they just are hearing the Dead Files. People are just like hearing us and they're like, nope, we're going to screw that one up.
Yeah. If they have that kind of power, sure.
Exactly. And, but yeah, we talked about, well, they live right next to a train track and how old is the water heater?
Right next.
They did have that the fire department did not find any cause of why that would have started, which there's still lots of options out there, just not saying, just saying that this is
true.
Just looking for the logic.
Right.
Yep. And so
just because the firefighters didn't find anything doesn't mean there wasn't anything to be like a logical explanation. Maybe, the pilot light blew up or something. I don't know. As you can tell, I'm clearly a water heater expert.
Yep.
But
obviously.
But there's, just because it's not explainable doesn't mean there's not an explanation. Not explainable by the firemen doesn't mean there's not an explanation. And it's like they were really, really, latching on to, well, the firemen said they didn't know. And so the only other possible explanation is,
that's right. The only explanation.
And, I think about some of that too, is because the house didn't burn down and there were no fatalities or injuries or anything, like how long does one spend on an investigation of if there's no indication of arson or that sort of thing?
That's a good point.
Or malfunctioning, if it's not the things that they would look for would be arson,
ignition marks,
or if there's anything that is specific to the like the make and model of the machine that they would need to report back to the
like a recall situation or something.
So, Amy, that's a good point, because if there weren't any harm, any deaths or injuries, they probably have a billion other things to be doing than investigating a fire that didn't have any.
And I have no idea. So if somebody out there knows more about that, I don't know how much time and energy is invested in that, depending also location and that sort of thing. Most rural areas, and I work in a company that works with rural communities, where our company has helped donate money to raise funds to get a new ambulance for the county because their ambulance was 15 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that if there had been like a huge insurance claim or something like that, there would need to be an investigation to really dig in and find out.
And thankful
what was at fault.
Thankfully, she was there and noticed it starting to go, so she was able to get it taken care of and save the house.
That could have been a lot worse, yeah.
And I will say in their defense, like, the water heater catching on fire, randomly, in and of itself would not be enough to kind of ignite thoughts of paranormal. We're here all night, folks.
Tip your weight,
or suggestions of paranormal activity, but I think it's that with everything else that they'd been experiencing.
Yes.
And we're not discrediting their experiences at all.
No.
Obviously,
No, obviously there's stuff going on there.
Right, because Cindy found it. And if you're new to the show, welcome. But we all believe in it. We all believe in the paranormal.
Yeah.
So we're not here to debunk anybody's experiences.
Nope. Right. We just like to look for other
possibilities.
And which I think, a lot of people look for anyways is how could this work? How could this be logical? How could this
Not me.
happen? But yeah, as Megan, as you said earlier, or just a little bit ago, there were so many other things going on. Paula Jr. shows her the bruising that she has had. And I know we talked about this yesterday too. She mentioned being like, I'm not a klutz. I don't run into things. I'm like, I'm not a klutz, but yet I find myself with bruisers.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was looking at my legs today and I was like, well, where did that one come from?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's from one of my dogs standing
Yep.
on my legs, but it's one of those like, well, that's interesting.
So if Steve asks you, could it be the dogs? You would have to say, well,
You'd have to say,
it could be.
possible.
And then he'd probably fall over because he's never
gotten that answer.
Wait a minute.
He'd look at the producers and be like, I don't know what to do. Like, what protocol if they say
It's never been answered this way before.
He'd look at my dogs and Wesley would jump up and like punch him and be like, oh, so it was the dogs. Got it.
Then he'd be like, well, wrap it up, guys. It was the dogs.
Guess we're going home. That's it. It's the dogs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's see what else. Just one more little thing about the hot water heater. Hot water heaters are not made out of flammable materials. Like, are they saying the metal caught on fire? Or are they saying
I think she said it started to smoke. So I don't know if there was I can't remember if she said there was actual flames or not, but it's usually in a space where there's stuff near
other things. That's what I'm thinking.
Is it
something else must have caught.
Or it was smoldering because it's full of wires and other things around it. So, something got hot, started to smolder, and then something nearby caught on fire. I can't remember if she said there was flames. I remember her saying there was smoke.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
And I think it was in a closet at the end of the hallway.
Okay. Anyway, moving on from that. So do we want to talk about the
there's
the people
garage.
that Cindy found?
I was going to say the
yeah.
garage and the cars and Stanley working on cars since he was 16. That was a number we got a little confused on yesterday until Amy, I think you called that one out. But he talked about being in the garage and not having any keys in the car that he's been working on, and the radio and windshield wipers start going off. And most of us have operated a vehicle before, and most things do not turn on unless there is some form of electricity running to them.
Right. And it sounds like it was an older car.
Yep.
Like today's cars, you might be able to do that because there's a computer running in them, but older cars don't have that kind of thing. And if he was working on a car, I assume it's an older car. I could be wrong about that.
It looked like an older car that was in the garage.
And then he talked about how he was in the garage, again, working on the car with his son, and a hammer came and flew at them.
Yeah, like 8 feet away from where it had been sitting.
It wasn't like it was on the top shelf of the toolkit and it fell.
Like, yeah.
Holy shit, it's a ghost.
Yeah.
It was like across the garage, came flying at them.
Yeah. I think he said a wrench went flying too.
Yeah.
At one point.
They really missed an opportunity to go, stop, hammer time. Probably weren't thinking about it, but I'm just saying, missed opportunity.
Yeah,
so really
definitely.
Play into that.
Definitely.
Find the positives.
Yep. I wanted to note that Steve was really using his fashion sense in this one. Did you notice he was wearing like a silk scarf? Like some mafia king or something? Yeah, thought that was interesting. Silk scarf isn't going to keep you warm.
Didn't he have like a light tan jacket?
Yeah, like a cashmere coat with the.
Okay,
that fellow must be paying well.
Right.
I'm kidding. I know he says he doesn't get paid a lot, and he probably doesn't. I mean, he doesn't get Zach Bagans money. Yeah, he should do an OnlyFans.
It's just every angle of his ring. That's all his OnlyFans would be.
Yeah,
different ring shots.
Oh, I love it. All right. So we hear, looking at the history stuff, we hear about Mary Adeline Barlow, who married a guy named Penny Hardy, which is an odd name for a man, 1862. He served in the war. And then they couldn't have their own kids. They adopted 3 children. They bought the property in 1892. The kids were all grown up. One of their grandchildren died of TB. and his oldest daughter died of TB.
Correct.
But she was grown, 48 years old. And then he died of acute indigestion, which they said was a heart attack. Heart attack. And then Steve goes to speak to a genealogist.
Not a gynecologist.
About Dan Gibson, and they talk about the Gibson Spurlock.
Talk about Mary, though? We didn't finish off with Mary.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let's go back to Mary.
Because Penny died.
Yeah.
And then Mary survived afterwards, but she was put into a mental asylum. Yeah.
Right.
So she was committed into a mental asylum in 1919, and she passes away about a year later, and they said she died of psychosis and arterial sclerosis.
Amy, what is arterial sclerosis?
Thanks for asking.
So glad you asked.
So hardening of the arteries, and talking with my mom, who is a nurse and works on a heart unit, likely that there may have been a stroke or a heart attack. Especially, we were told in the episode that she never got over losing her husband. And so maybe there was some break in there, but potential even for having like mini strokes that lead up to something else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really tough for her.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That was my grandma's, on my dad's side, her cause of death. But they said that it had to do, they called it hardening of the arteries. And then later I had heard that that is also what a term they used for before they knew what Alzheimer's was. But I don't know if that's actually true or not. But I think that it could, like, if your arteries harden up, I assume shit's not getting to your brain the way it's supposed to. And so that's going to have some effect.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, that's sad.
Definitely.
Okay. So back to the Spurlock-Gibson feud.
Yes.
And
that classic feud that everybody knows
classic,
about.
Yep.
Like cats and dogs, man.
That old chestnut. Yeah, so one of them, two of Spurlock's boys shot and killed Dan's father, and then they went to jail and got revenge. I'm just really breezing through my notes. Please pipe up if you want to say something.
Okay.
Dan bought the property in 1967, and he married Dan Gibson married Alphalba Bush, and they had 6 children. And in I know.
So he bought the property in 1967 when he was 56 years old.
Okay. And then in 1970, he had a heart attack and died at 59. Does that come out right with the years?
Yes. Yep.
That's what I have. His wife got the property. She ended up with stomach cancer, and she sold the property to another family. And then she died, but there was some problem with, like, the paperwork wasn't done right or something like that.
Well, because I think she only did part of the property.
Yeah, that's what
I think she meant to only do part of the property and then potentially sold all of the property. And so, it went into courts for 10 years. It was a 10-year court battle because the information, it was not clear in her will. So a good reminder to have your affairs in order.
Get that shit straight.
Don't leave your family to struggle with your wishes and all of that stuff, because it tears a lot of families apart. But in this case, it ended up being that she did sell the property, and the man who purchased it was related to the Spurlocks through marriage.
Yeah. So also try not to sell your property to the family that your family has been fighting with for centuries.
Yep.
All right. And then there was also some stuff about the train robbery. The
Reno gang. We didn't talk about it because they didn't talk about it in the...
And it didn't connect to anything.
No.
That was another theme. Is they're really struggling to connect in the reveal to the history that Steve finds.
Yeah.
This whole season, they've been struggling with that. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's my only guess is that there has been some sort of change in the production team, and they're just maybe not as good at digging stuff up as they used to be. I don't know.
That was digging through the archives.
Oh, Steve just does it on camera. He's not actually doing the work.
But I
shouldn't say that. That may be not true. But.
Cindy did pick up on a lot of the stuff, though, that they were talking about. She didn't like the train tracks out front, saying there was a portal basically right outside the door because of the train tracks.
And that sketch of the people crawling out of the portal and into the house.
There was a woman with a toddler.
Yeah.
I did not like that sketch.
She also, in a lot of areas, she found the electronics malfunctioning. There was things going flying, that there was poltergeist activity that was so aggressive. That was the term she used. But she also recognized that there's a dead woman who wants a living woman dead. She hates her, adamantly hates her, and wants her to suffer, wants her to die of cancer like the others.
Which they never covered.
Which they don't cover more of.
Like, who are the others?
Yeah. And
this is Paula Jr.'s mom.
Yep, Paula is the one who is being targeted. It's fueling poltergeist activity, but then the woman that Cindy was connecting to did not feel like it didn't feel like it was Mary Adeline Barlow. I think she connected a little bit to one because she did say Mary. She did say Mary, but she was looking at somebody who lost their family in a fire, which is why burning hatred. And
I'll connect.
And then it connected to the potential fire that almost happened did happen with the water heater. But it made it sound like this woman who wants Paula dead may have been one who came through the portal and had lost her family tragically.
So there's no connection to the land whatsoever.
That's what it felt like.
She happened to come through the portal and then kind of zeroed in on Paula and was like, oh, you're going to die the way everybody else died.
Okay, that's probably why a lot of these things don't connect, is because throughout this season,
portals.
It's been portals.
Yeah, and people are coming through there from everywhere. It doesn't have to be something that happened nearby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's probably why it's a struggle, though it is really interesting to hear some of the history of the area. Like, obviously, they had to fill some of that time because here's how the storyline goes. But yeah, it's definitely quite interesting. And of course, Steve says something along the lines of, they've been married for 35 years, and they're fighting like cats and dogs. Like, they're going to get divorced.
It's like, Steve,
they're not happy. What was it? They're not a happy family anymore.
Right.
That was from a few episodes ago. But
But
similar concept.
And I know Amy.
And they can go back to being a loving family.
Amy had mentioned, you can have fight and still be a loving family.
Right.
One or the other. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right.
They're dramatizing it up.
Yep.
It's a bit much.
Are we ready to get to the reveal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just of the things that I had noted on, one thing is that blah 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 blah. Steve says to Paula Jr., I bet you're glad you're not living there anymore, which made me feel like that reveal did not take place at Paula Sr.'s house, at the parents' house.
Where the activity was.
Right? Yeah, because they said that wasn't the only time. There was a couple other times where they said, back at the house or something like that. So that led me to believe that they were not having the reveal at that house. I'm not sure where it was, if it was at Paula Jr.'s house.
Or somewhere
But then they also mentioned later when they said that when the medium is supposed to come, which is what Cindy recommended, is a medium come and move on these people. When they're moving on that woman that wants to kill Paula Sr., they said Paula Sr. should be at Paula Jr.'s house.
Yes.
When that happens. But Cindy said, you should be at Paula's house, not you should be here. So I don't I'm not sure where the reveal took place, but it sounds like it certainly didn't take place at the parents' house. And I'm not sure why that would have been, unless there was too much going on, or it was too chaotic for Cindy?
Exactly. My thought is it was too much for Cindy with the portal and people constantly coming in and out. She probably would have been too distracted and emotionally drained, which I'm sure she was anyway, but it would have added to it.
Right. Well, and we've heard that with Amy before too. There was an episode long ago where she was doing the sketch and one of the ghosties was in the room with her, trying to get her to stop telling the guy what she saw.
And she actually, I think, had to take a break from that sketch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was too much for her. So
yeah. Maybe they could have just put Cindy in another room on a camera.
Can't wait till you guys watch the finale.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I've watched most of it. Maybe I'll watch that tonight.
I mean, the reveal part yet.
Yeah, I haven't watched the reveal. I've watched the rest of it.
You'll know why. You'll message me.
Okay. We'll be covering that one in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. It's a good
All
one.
right. So, good. Yeah, I liked what I'd seen.
But yeah, I mean, this episode, there wasn't anything that was like, that didn't really stand out. I mean, it was a good episode.
Yes.
But there wasn't anything like the next weeks where we had big feelings about.
Well, yeah.
Big feeling.
And Cindy said, a lot of times she'll give off like, you need this person and this kind of person and this person. But in this one, it was, you got to close the portal. That medium, bring in a medium. That medium can do it. The medium can also move on Dan. Just needs to be firm with him.
Yeah.
And the woman will be the most difficult to move on. And that's when she said, the same medium can do this, but you need to not be here. But she specifically said, not
Paula's
like you need to go stay in a hotel. You need to go somewhere else. She specifically said, you need to go to Paula's house.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder what that was. Why that was.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it could have been that they did some more stuff in the reveal that, we weren't sure.
Of course.
Right.
But
the reveal could have been 5 hours long or 10 hours long.
And one thing that we didn't talk about today that we talked about yesterday is that Paula is a sensitive.
Yes.
Cindy said that she's sensitive. Paula Jr., that is the younger one. And we wondered if potentially knowing some of the stuff that Amy's provided us in the past was a poltergeist activity brought through with one with the train tracks right there, but then also with some like teenage angst from somebody who's sensitive and doesn't know how to manage some of that. All speculation.
They have it.
Yep. Yeah. And then Paula Jr. also brought up we had a couple things in the reveal that were brought up that seems like, oh, you didn't talk about this, but I see you nodding along with what Cindy has to say. So one of them was Paula, the mom, that morning had been in the shower and was shoved out of it. And Cindy's like, I see somebody being shoved. And they're like, yep, that literally happened today.
Mm-hmm.
And then
where
Paula
she had to grab onto the shower.
So she didn't fall out of the bathtub.
That's scary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Paula Jr. had a dream where she saw her older brother shooting her. And Cindy said, that's when Cindy said, I think you're sensitive. It wasn't your brother. It was Dan trying to talk to you. He was trying to show you something. And so he was trying to communicate through her dream to her.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a good episode. There just wasn't anything like, wow, or
no.
Yeah, there was no, oh my God, moments like
it would have been interesting if that dream would have been brought up to Steve earlier in the episode. Would he have pushed on some of it a little bit or try to get more detail?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the ending? They're still looking for a medium.
Correct.
That's how it ended? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And it doesn't say how long after the filming that was. A lot of times it'll say 6 weeks later or 6 months later.
I have found that's more in the ones where they do the recordings or the ones that say they found a medium and the activity has decreased or something like that. But often if it's things haven't changed, we don't usually see a time update.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it when they did the video updates.
I like that too.
And the people could say, hey, we decided to not do anything Amy said, and we're still here, and it's still happening. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well,
thanks for joining
there
us,
we are.
everybody. We appreciate it.
Yes. Thanks for joining.
AP, do you want to tell us what we are going to be covering next week?
Yeah, when I get the damn script up.
Aggressive. Don't need to be aggressive.
I was like, she's going too fast. She's going too fast.
I'm sorry. I just always have my script up. I'm that way.
I use my cell phone for my
I did it on my phone today.
Yes. Well, yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Next week, we will be talking about Dead Files episode, season 15, episode 12, Isolated, which aired on October 12th of 2023. And we have
so many thoughts.
Oh,
so if
my
our
God.
thoughts have thoughts.
If you were a fan of this episode, I would suggest maybe not listening.
Well, it depends on which level of fan you had of it. You had a lot of questions and you're like, did that really make sense? Were they trying to push something on us?
I love Brittany so much. She's so tormented. Then maybe don't listen because we are not Brittany.
Yes. So seeking peace and quiet, Brittany and her father, Bill, moved to a remote cabin in Tennessee. But dark, disturbing paranormal activity has made their lives anything but peaceful. Fearing something evil is possessing them, they call on Steve and Cindy for help, which I don't remember a lot of talk about possession.
No, I don't.
Here.
Well, except for her being possessed when she was 15 and her dad writing a damn book about it.
Which I conveniently happen to have, Steve. Look at this.
I just happen to have one sitting on my counter.
Oh, there was 3 of them.
I know. Yeah. That was, if that hadn't happened in the beginning, I don't think I would have had such a bad vibe about the whole rest of the episode.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll get to that.
We'll get to it. Stay tuned.
Teasers.
We'll get to that. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Later.
Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please reach out if you have a suggestion for which episode of the Dead Files we should cover next, or if you have a spooky story you'd like us to share on the show. We can be reached at theactivitycontinues@gmail.com or through our website or any of our socials. Links are all in the description of the show. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when the activity continues. The Activity Continues is produced by me, Amy, at Collected Sounds Media and is part of the independent Collected Sounds Podcast Network. We are also proud members of the Boo Pod network of super cool podcasts.
Nailed it.